All right, good day, everyone. We are going to look at adding and subtracting rational expressions, part 1. Let's do a quick review of adding fractions because that's applicable. You must know the mechanics of that. So let's suppose we have 1/2 plus 3/2 and we're going to add them. Remember from previous grades that the only way you can add fractions is that they must have the same denominator. Once they have the same denominator, you write one of the denominators down. So 2 in here is the denominator for both, and you just add the top, 1 plus 3. Okay, in this case would be 4/2, then you can simplify, that becomes 2. So these two, that's the same denominator. Very, very important. If you don't have that, you cannot add fractions. Okay, so that's very applicable to adding and subtracting rational expressions. All right, let's look at this review B question. 2/6 plus 1/8. I made that on purpose. Notice that now the denominators are not the same. But to add these two fractions, we must make the denominators the same. Now, I could have given you 1/3, but I didn't. I did that on purpose. 2/6 is good. So what is the lowest common denominator? So in this case, not only they have to be common or same, but they have to be lowest common denominator. So what is the lowest common denominator? And that's the only way we can add the fractions. All right, now the same thing, so LCD, and almost the same as, well, it is as LCM, and this is lowest common multiple. Same idea. So the smallest number that 6 goes into and 8 goes into, so that's what we want. We want the lowest common denominator or lowest common multiple. So notice that if you look at the multiples of 6 and multiples of 8, whichever that value is common to both, then that would be it. So what should we do to make the denominators the same? So if you remember, the first thing you do is that you notice that, okay, multiples of 6, so 24, because 12 and 8 doesn't go, 16 doesn't go, sorry, 18 doesn't go into, 8 doesn't go into 18, but 24, 24 does. So that means I have to multiply this 6 by 4, and whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator. And then, so now that I got the 24, what should I do to 8, or 1/8? So multiply both top and bottom by, because I want to get 24, I have to multiply it by 3. Now again, you've done this in previous grades, you just to review right now. All right, so now you will have 8/24 plus 3/24, and in this case, same rule applies. You have the same denominator, add the numerator, and that is it. Okay, so let's look at another example. Now we are coming out of the review now slowly. So I have a rational expression, subtract half from. Same rule applies. We need to have a lowest common denominator. Now we got a variable in a denominator, which is x, and we have number 2. But that doesn't really matter, because the lowest common denominator has to have a factor of x in it, and has to have a factor of 2, and that's the smallest one. And in most cases, the same setup like this is that you just multiply these two. So 2x, that is your LCD. That's usually what happens. All right, now if it is 2x, that means we have to now change this fraction, x plus 2 over x, so that it has 2x as a denominator. That means I have to multiply x by 2, and I have to multiply the numerator by 2, but be careful, we got to put a bracket around x plus 2, all right, because that 2 on top plus times 2, you have to multiply it in. The second fraction, 1/2, you multiply that by x, because you have the lowest common denominator, it has to have 2x in the denominator, so you do the same thing on top as well. All right, And now we have the new fraction with the same denominators, and we can go ahead and simplify, and in this case subtract. And here it is. So we do the subtraction. 2 times x plus 2. I just switched it around so that it is. I haven't multiplied this through yet. I will do that at the end. We should do that at the end because we have to simplify that. So here it is. And then the last step is basically you need to simplify it. So this 2 multiplied through, and then we have to subtract x. So that would be 2x plus 4 minus x all over 2x. And then last piece, 2x minus x, collect like terms. So that would be just x plus 2 all over 2x. And that is the final answer, the most simplified form of the subtraction of two rational expressions. All right, let's look at this example. 1 over x plus 3 plus 1 over x plus 3. First thing you do, look at, they must have the same common denominator or you cannot add them. They do, so great. You just write one of them down and then add the top. 1 plus 1 is 2. And that's it. In this case, you're done. All right, another example. Example B. We have two rational expressions. We're subtracting. All right. Common denominator. Lowest common denominator. What is the LCD? So the LCD is the most crucial piece right here. Notice that x plus 1 is not x. Right here this is x minus 1. That's x plus 1. It's not repeating. So to get the LCD, you multiply these two together. That's what you will do. So that would be x plus 1 and x minus 1. And once you do this, you notice that this LCD has a factor of x minus 1 in it and has a factor of x plus 1 in it. So we need to change both of these fractions so that they both have that denominator. So x plus 1, I have to multiply that by x minus 1. But whatever I do to the denominator, I have to do it to the numerator. For the second fraction, multiplied by x plus 1 and x plus 1. All right, so that's what you have to do. Next step, you just multiply. So 2x times x minus 1, which is right here. That's your first fraction on top. Minus, there's a minus there. Great, that's minus. This is the minus there. And then 1 times x plus 1 is x plus 1. And then in this case, I suggest you just multiply through, or actually, it doesn't really matter, but if you want to do that, let's do that. So that would be 2x squared minus 2x. Then you have to multiply that through, minus x minus 1 all over the lowest common denominator, x plus 1, x minus 1. And then the final answer is that you can simplify these two. So that would be 2x squared minus 2x minus x is minus 3x minus 1 all over x plus 1, x minus 1. Notice that I did not multiply x plus 1, x minus 1 in a denominator. I left it as a factor form and let it just be like that. All right. Sometimes you have to leave everything in a factor form, including the top right here. But in this case, I'm not too worried about it. Just let it be, because I'm sure that you can factor that at one point. But in this case, it cannot be factored anyways. So just let it be. Do not multiply through. All right.